Call on you.
Good morning. Good morning. We'll call the April 6, 2021 City Council meeting to order. I'll call on Councilman Ernest Brooks II to lead us in our invocation and pledge. If you would, please stand.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I would like everyone assembled this morning to join me in a moment of silent meditation, followed by the collective recitation of the Lord's Prayer, and representing unity and collaboration here in our city. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 3 is roll call. And Sandy, I think you can say that all council members are here, with the exception of Councilman Buchanan and Pickens. Item 4, approval of the minutes of the March 2nd and March 9th, 2020 meetings. Those minutes were emailed out, so if there are no additions or corrections, they'll stand approved as read. Item 5, proclamations and recognitions. Council can see we're making it for a year. We're not having those. I got quite a few today. And so I will call on Gail Gilbert, saw her somewhere, to recognize this year's Mayor's Youth Council and introduce them.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Gail Gilbert, and I'm here to introduce you to the Mayor's Youth Council. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Mayor's Youth Council, this was started last year to give the youth of our city an opportunity to meet with the mayor and other city officials to learn about our government. And prove that we're teaching them their leadership abilities. We're getting them involved in community service. And we hope this is our next generation, our next leaders of our city. And we're wanting to teach them. And from what I've seen from last year and so far this year, we've got some very intelligent students. And we're looking forward to you continuing to live in Jackson and show us what you have once you graduate. Our juniors class coming in this year is Emma Edelman from Augustine School. If you'll stand up, Emma. Blessy Garcia from Jackson Central, Mary. Allison Thompson from Sacred Heart of Jesus. Jamara Anderson, Northside High School. Sanaya Davis, Southside High School. Trip Day, Jackson Christian. Blair Driver, University School of Jackson. Amaris Newby, Liberty Technology, Magnet High. Georgia Nicholson, Trinity Christian. And Colin Richardson. These are from Madison Academic Madison. These are our new incoming juniors for the Mayor's Youth Council this year. And also here today is our graduating senior class of the Mayor's Youth Council, so I'd like for you to stand as well. Colby Hayes, who is the Youth Council Chairman, Augustine School. Jasmine Citron, who is the Vice Chairman, Madison Academic High. Garrett Blankenship, Council Secretary for Jackson Christian School. Jeremiah Bridgman, Northside High School. Patrick Davis, Jackson Central Mary Early College. Spencer Morris, University School of Jackson.
Go Bruins.
Emily Wood, Southside High School.
Go Hawks.
And Aiden Wright, Trinity Christian Academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Youth Council. Next up, we have our Mayor's Masterpiece Awards, and Jackson Arts Council present those, so call Melinda Reed. You need me to come down?
Good morning. We had the pleasure this year at the Jackson Arts Council to come alongside the city for this first ever Mayor's Collection of Masterpieces. And we're just thrilled that we have Mayor Conger's support in the arts just on every level. And this art exhibit is titled For the Love of Jackson, and each piece really showcased that individual student's connection to Jackson, what they enjoyed to do. And it was K through 8th, open to public, private, and homeschool, and we were just tickled with the number of submissions that we received. Every submission is on display on the 3rd floor here at the City Hall, so if you have time after the council meeting, we invite you to meander upstairs to the 3rd floor and enjoy all of the pieces. But we have 3 top winners today that the committee selected, and we'd like to recognize those 3 recipients today, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And we will have you guys and girls to pop on up here. And if you have a parent with you or an art teacher, we invite you for that opportunity. And if you have someone to take your picture, we would love for you to snap a picture and have that proud mama and daddy moment. So I will start with the first place moment. The first place winner, Miss Gracie Reynolds. If you'll come on up here. Miss Gracie, first place. Round of applause for Miss Gracie. Gracie is a 6th grader at St. Mary's, and she has family here. So nice of you guys to come. Here is her piece of artwork. If you'd like to hold that, Gracie.
Want to hold the dog.
That's right, go Angels. And go Gracie.
Alex, the dog's gonna get you.
Actually, we would probably love to keep that on the art exhibit, if that's okay. But the certificate and ribbon is yours to keep. So congratulations, Gracie. All right, coming up next is our 2nd place winner, Miss Kaylee Johnson, if you'll make her way down here. Kaylee is an 8th grader at TCA, and I believe her art teacher, Miss Sisk, is here. And we are just so thankful that we have an art teacher. All of our art teachers are fabulous, but Miss Sisk was definitely very involved in this. Here's the- Oh, here you go. And her artwork, you can see, is a watercolor painting of the Greyhound. Very good job. Okay, 3rd place winner, it goes to Samantha Grissom. Samantha, if you'll make your way on down here. I believe she has her parents with her. Samantha is a 4th grader at TCA, and Miss Smith is her art teacher. Here's her certificate, her ribbon. And here is her watercolor painting. It says, Jackson, Dream Big. I'll get in this. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting your budding artist. We will have a fall art exhibit here at the City Hall for 9th through 12th grade. This is 2D and 3D. You'll be seeing the press release in the paper and all the publicity online and social media. So if you are connected to, such as our youth council members here today, if you want to participate in that art exhibit, it is 9th through 12th, and it is for this fall. So the art exhibit's up until the end of this month, so hope you all will enjoy it on the 3rd floor.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.
While you're up, you go ahead and have a
I know,
seat
we'll just
and
mosey on over.
present to us on Jackson Arts Council.
Good morning. We appreciate this opportunity to come out this morning. We also have some art supporters, along with our board of directors, along with our art coalition members. And we would like to recognize them and ask them to please stand at this moment. Also, Mayor Conger, City Council, we appreciate this opportunity to express our gratitude to you for your continued support. Because of that support, we know that the arts has impacted our community. Councilman Taylor, we know that outside of our community, that the arts add to a quality of life. And so it's not about just economics, but it's also about offering our community the best that we can. With that, I would also like to thank you for your investment in our mission, connecting and strengthening the arts. At this time, I would like our executive director, Melinda Reed, to also share some of those highlights on how that impact has made a difference in the arts in our community.
Thank you, Ted. As we are currently preparing our art groups for the upcoming DAC grant and ABC grant by way of conducting online workshops, we wanted to reflect on the impact of the funded projects made possible by your support here at the city. The ABC grant is the only grant that we work with that is regional, so that impact can be felt especially in Jackson, Madison County, but their surrounding communities, and it really adds value to their art and cultural events. It is a competitive grant. It does have a community panel that is trained on the rubric scale and what to look for in this competitive grant program. We're a designated agency by the Tennessee Arts Commission. There's just a handful of them, of designated agencies across the state, so it's definitely an honor to be one of those few and to handle and manage that grant here in West Tennessee for the Arts Commission that's based out of Nashville. And of course that involves the Southwest District, Chester, Decatur, Hardeman, Hardin, Haywood, Henderson, Madison, and McNairy counties. It's funded by the Tennessee General Assembly and administered in cooperation with the Tennessee Arts Commission and of course our Arts Council. Such projects that have been funded in 2019, we had 9 recipients totaling about $12,000 in grant funding. Ballet Arts, Brownsville Haywood Arts Council, Community Multicultural Art Care Center, or CMAC, Adamsville Plain Air Arts Festival, Lane College Recital Series and Master Classes, Keep My Hood Good Community Mural, Rivertime Players Theater Group in Decatur, City of Whiteville Community Mural, and of course the Jackson Theater Guild. Secondly, the other grant that we work with is our JACK grant, and we're really well known for that here locally. It is funded, of course, by the City of Jackson and the Jackson Arts Council donors. And we are so grateful for that funding. In 2020, we had 5 recipients totaling $11,000 in grant funding. Of course, this is another competitive grant, and the ask is always at least twice the amount that we have allotted for this grant program. We really had to make a strong pivot to rearrange that funding since we did lose some funding in some other areas, but we are so grateful that the city as well as our local individual donors here in town stayed true to our mission of connecting and strengthening the arts. Again, that's a trained citizens panel reviews those grants, and it is very competitive. Ballet Arts, Jackson Symphony, Jackson Theater Guild, Bemis Historical Society, and the Big Black Creek Historical Society are recipients of that JACK grant. And we're always so thankful of our panelists. I know our arts liaison, Marta Wallace, has served in that volunteer role, so we are so thankful of that time that our panelists take in learning how to judge the grants and to be at the in-person grant review. We just thank you so much for your support as we continue to connect and strengthen the arts in our community. And of course, while that pandemic has presented its challenges, we've really stayed focused on our mission. We value connecting with our art group leaders virtually through workshops and webinars, and we know that sense of community within within the arts groups is really valuable. We held a most recent webinar called Racial Equity in the Arts, and this past summer we really kind of made a strong pivot and had Art on the Go sidewalk art exhibits outside the NED. So that was really neat to offer that, to have that sense of rapport among the art exhibitors, and to have people drive by, give us a little honk, or walk and enjoy the artwork in person at a safe distance. And of course, we have an art exhibit that's opening tonight at the NED. We're really excited about the West Tennessee Artisan Trail, having that the first art exhibit in quite some time, it seems like. And we are, of course, so grateful to collaborate with the Mayor's Collection of Masterpieces, and excited about that partnership, as well as the art exhibit that's outside right now in the lobby, the Carl Perkins Child Abuse Center's exhibit that really focuses on those individual patients and clients, their treatment, and how art therapy plays a part. So we were excited to come alongside them and help with their exhibit installation yesterday here at the city.
And in conclusion, we are excited about the upcoming year. You've seen a prime example of what focusing on youth, on what they can do by the awards that we saw this morning with the Mayor's Masterpiece Awards. Because of your funding, we were able to provide $23,000 in support for over 14 organizations. Some of these organizations wouldn't exist without that. And a little bit more about the panel. It's one of those where the organization can grow over the years. I remember being on that panel and an organization showing up and not having a clue how to make the ask. Well, Melinda and her team got together and provided workshops so that they would know how to make the ask the following year, and they were awarded a gift. So again, we appreciate the mayor, city council for your support of the Arts Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ted and Melinda. All right, next up is National Library Week. So I'll call on Director Donna Harris to come give her presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting me come today and talk to you about the library. I'd first like to say thank you to the Arts Council as well, because that's one of the most wonderful things about Jackson is the arts. You don't get that in a lot of the smaller communities around here, and they make it beautiful to be in Jackson. In 2000, as you know, when I came in 2013, the library had been under private management. And since it's came back to local management, it has just grown by leaps and bounds. In 2017, we realized that in order for us to continue to add services and programs, we were going to have more space. So I have a wonderful library board, and they started looking into it. They called in a couple of people to talk to us and look at the space, and decided that it was time to do a official professional space needs assessment. So they interviewed different candidates and chose Anders Dahlgren from Library Planning Associates. The foundation, the Library Foundation, paid for the study, and we thank them very much for that. So Anders set out to answer 5 questions. In order to answer those questions, he came on site 2 or 3 times, had intense talks with my library staff, with the library board. He talked with, had community engagement sessions, which some of y'all attended. Talked to the Friends of the Library, the business community, the teenagers, the seniors, all ages. We had a group from South and a group from North Jackson. He had one-on-one meetings with key informants like Mayor Conger here. And then he started studying the data. He looked at the national service trends for the future of libraries. He looked at our annual data collection forms for several. We do one every year. It's like 25 or 30 pages long. And he looked at those for many years in the past up to now. And then he did a peer comparative analysis of the libraries using a federal database published by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, where he compared us to other libraries within our region, within 150 miles of here. He even extended one study to 300 miles from here. Of course, the bigger the range, the lower we ranked, because if you go toward the north, the libraries in the north fund their libraries at an unbelievable amount usually. So when all was said and done, he presented us with a recommendation that I would say is a middle of the road kinda. It's not the top, but it's not the bottom. It's the more reasonable thing that we would be looking at. So you have in front of you the brochure that we're gonna look at in just a second. That's our long-range plan, but inside that is a sheet, and it is the results of the feasibility study that Anders conducted. He set out to answer 5 questions. Number 1, what were the space needs of the library? And as you can see from the data there, and this is all from data, according to the research, we need approximately 38% more space for our books and media collection. And I will say, he had a scientific formula, like a reader seat takes up this much space, a bookshelf takes up this much space. So it was not a guess, it was driven by official measurements. We need space to expand technology by 46%. We need space to expand reader seating by 171%. And y'all that been in the library understand that. I know Councilman Brooks comes in quite often, before the pandemic especially, and he sees the place is full. And one of our problems is the way the space is arranged. We have tables that have 4 chairs. So if somebody sits down at one of those chairs, nobody else is gonna sit at that table unless they're friends with them. So you have a huge table with 4 chairs and 1 person sitting at it sometimes. So we desperately need more reader seating, smaller seating to accommodate 1 or 2 people. We need to, when we double the space, we're gonna need to double the staff to monitor the space. The 2 biggest expenses of a library and the 2 most valuable things of a library are our materials and our people, because our people possess the knowledge to help the population use the resources. Our meeting room space needs to be increased by 600%. We currently have 3 rooms that will seat, if they were full, would seat around 100 people. And that is one thing the library is very much about. We are a community hub. We are a place that people use our meeting rooms on a good, before pandemic, once again, we were using 24 people, 24 groups used our meeting room every month. And that was just the regular meetings. That's not counting the extra meetings, like Head Start would use it once a year to train people to do the food program. Book clubs would use it once a month or once a quarter. Lots of different groups. We counted, we take a count, and last year, I said last year, it was like 2020 didn't exist almost, right? 18-19, we had 18,499 people that attended a meeting or program in our program rooms. The main library, according to his research, needs to be increased from 30,000 square feet to 65,186 square feet. Our North Branch needs to be increased from 3,850 to 12,242. What collections and services should the library provide for the community to meet the future need? That was when he studied the service trends. We need more space for collaboration and more space for technology. How should the library's resources be deployed? If we maintain a main library and a North Branch, 80-20, and that's about what it is now. What other service configurations should we consider? He didn't tell us which way to go on this. He just said you need to consider a more assertive service collection, service inventory. I said this was the mediocre. You could go higher with your number of books. You could go less on your number of meeting rooms. You could consider consolidating into 1 facility. You could consider the impact of adding a 2nd branch. What does the future space needs reveal about the facilities and expansion options? Do we expand at the present site? Do we expand the branch at its present site? Do we build something new, convert an existing structure, or have a phased construction? And we don't know the answers to that yet. But the answers will come as our board goes through the long-range strategic plan. If you will look in the very back of this brochure, number 5, it deals with our vision for the library and its facilities. And there are 5 steps that the library board established. Number 1, they were going to hire a consultant to evaluate the goals and space needs, which they've already done. Number 2, present the consultant's recommendations, which they've already done. And number 3 is where they're at now. They've employed an architect to analyze our current building, recommend a design based on the data from the consultant, and to clarify our authority to expand or construct the library, and clarification should be provided by both city and county Y'all fund us 50/50, and it is very important to us to have your buy-in on whatever we do in the future. We want to obtain input then from the trustees and library staff again before the plans are finalized and develop an expansion plan based on the findings. And at that point, there would be a timeline established and to be presented to the city and county. Is there any questions? I would like to say that the pandemic, as Melinda said, it did affect everyone, but the library, I'm so proud of us because we only had to close our doors totally. Now, we did close our doors, but we still provided services. There was only 2 weeks in the whole, since last March, that we weren't able to provide any services, and that was when I came down with COVID and all my staff had to quarantine. But after that, we came up with a plan where the staff was divided into 2 teams, and therefore, if one person came down with it, we would still have enough staff to keep the doors open, and we've been able to do that. And we're back up to 60% of our normal circulation already, and we're not, we're still closing at 6 instead of 8, and we are doing curbside on Saturday, and we're already back up to 60%. So we're very excited. Like Melinda said, we developed all kinds of new outreach methods to engage our community, to help them with technology. We were giving out e-cards over the phone and through email. We added a chat box to our website, a drive-up intercom at the library where you don't even have to get out of the car now, and just all kinds of things we did to try to serve our community. And we thank y'all for the support. A library is such an important part to a community. It is the community hub. It's where we see about literacy, technology, which is digital literacy, and a place of community. And you can tell a community, any community I've been in that is progressive and prospering has a wonderful library. And it speaks to y'all's, how you feel about your citizens. You empower them by giving them a good library and access to information. So thank you very much for doing that. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Donna. Any questions for Donna?
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for the presentation, and I think that you have the collective support, of us as you continue to analyze your needs, and I'm hopeful that you guys can develop out a plan, share it with the county and this body, and we can start to develop what the future of the library in Jackson-Madison County looks like.
Thank you. I can tell you, my board is very professional. They're very committed to do the due diligence. And when they come before you with a plan, you can be assured they have very thoroughly thought it out and researched it and feel that that is the best option, the best bang for the buck, Anyone else? Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we have a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Come on around so y'all can be seen by everybody now. This is a joint proclamation. This is whereas we need to recognize that child abuse and neglect is a serious and growing problem that changes life's path for nearly 4 million of our nation's children annually. Whereas this problem, which has reached epidemic proportions in all regions of our nation, respects no racial, religious, socioeconomic, or geographical boundaries, and can prevent children from following the road to a successful future. Whereas we need to take steps to educate the public on child abuse and its causes. Whereas the Exchange Club Carl Perkins Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse is participating in a National Child Abuse Prevention Month efforts through their awareness campaign with Be the Light, Prevent Child Abuse theme. Whereas we commend the Exchange Club Carl Perkins Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse for its continued success in helping families break free from the cycle of abuse, and urge full public support of their successful efforts. Now therefore, we, Jimmy Harris, Mayor of Madison County, Tennessee, and Scott Conger, Mayor of the City of Jackson, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and urge all citizens to use this time to better understand, recognize, and respond to this grievous problem as the center helps to strengthen families and prevent abuse. Harris. There we go, right? Anchor hiding over there in the corner here. Come on over, take a picture. Come on over here quick.
Really? Hang in there, Pam.
Thank you. And this is our why. You walk by me every day. I smile, I play. You might never know that I'm afraid. I cover bruises, but they just hide how it hurts worse on the inside. I cling to my teacher at the end of the day. I wonder if she knows why it's so hard to say goodbye. I sneak in my room without a sound. It's better if I'm not around. I unwrap the crackers that I stole from a friend. I tuck myself in. I close my eyes. My monsters are real, not under my bed. My monster is real. He's in the next room. And that's certainly what we see every day in the children that we work with. Unfortunately, 90% of children won't tell about their abuse. And here are some reasons why kids won't tell.
I'll get taken from my home.
I'm afraid.
No one will believe me.
I'm afraid.
He said he'd kill me if I told. I am too ashamed.
It's my fault because I let it happen. People will look at me differently. They'll think I'm weird.
We're so thankful to be able to serve these children in Madison County as well as all over West Tennessee. I hope you'll take advantage and see our children's artwork outside. The theme is called Beauty from Ashes, and this is done from by our children that we serve at the center. Together, we can bring darkness to light. So please join us and choose to be the light. Thank you.
Right. Next up, we have a presentation from the Lynx for our Parks Department. I'll call Michelle Banks and Tony Black up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to first off say thanks to the Jackson chapter of the Lynx Incorporated for the gift that they're donating. And I'm going to introduce to you the president of the Jackson chapter, Mrs. Michelle Banks, and she will explain to you exactly what is happening.
Just want to say good morning to everyone.
morning.
And certainly want to say thank you to the mayor for allowing the Jackson, Tennessee chapter of the Lynx Incorporated to be a part of the meeting today and allowing us to be on the agenda. We are here today because of a partnership and a collaboration with the city of Jackson. And I want to first thank Tony Black for his hard work and all that he has done to support us in our effort. Again, I'm Michelle Banks, the president of the Jackson, Tennessee chapter of the Lynx Incorporated. This year, we celebrate 75 years. And as a part of the Central Area Initiative and part of our programs, focus on national trends and services and service to the youth and the health, we were charged to place a bench, which is known as a positivity bench, friendship bench, or even a buddy bench in the local community. So as we began to plan for that, we started to think about who could partner with us. And we looked all over Jackson, and we came up with the city of Jackson because we certainly wanted to place our bench in a park, in a place that could impact the entire community, family, friends, and children, because a part of that initiative was to make sure that Sometimes students are alone. They don't have anyone to talk to or to sit with. This bench would provide a safe haven and a place that they could go and perhaps take a seat with a friend or a stranger that could talk to them about their problems or things they're going to, and even encourage them to come out about any of child abuse or bullying. So for the partnership with the city, I am grateful for that. So on behalf of the Jackson, Tennessee chapter of the Links Incorporated, I would like to present to the mayor of Jackson, Tennessee, Mayor Conger, a check in the amount of $98.85 and some change for the park bench. And I also want to thank them for the installation that you are providing to the chapter, as well as I was informed this morning by Mr. Black that you are paving a sidewalk to the bench so that the community will be able to go out and take a seat on that bench. And so for that, I am grateful, and we are certainly grateful as a chapter. So again, thank you, Mayor Conger.
Here, here.
And the bench is located at the Shirlene Mercer Walking Trail under a nice tree, so you can sit and relax.
All right. We have no first readings today. Let's move on to second readings. Item 1 is the consideration of an ordinance to amend Title 5 of the Municipal Code regarding the Municipal Purchase Procurement Code. This item was approved on first reading.
Move the approval.
Have a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 2 is consideration of proposed budget amendment, JPD Act 21 grant, the amount of $55,000.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion, is there a second? Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 3 is a consideration of proposed budget amendment, JPD Boca Grant, Safe Hope Center for $18,281.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 4 is a consideration of proposed budget amendment, JPD Insurance Recovery, in the amount of $13,935.
So moved.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 5 is consideration of a proposed budget amendment, groundskeeping capital, in the amount of $19,000. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 6 is consideration of proposed budget amendment for CARES Act reimbursement in the amount of $86,609.09.
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Is that a second?
Yes, sir.
That's second by Councilman Dodd. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 7 is consideration of proposed budget amendment, City Start Grant, second stage, in the amount of $20,000.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Item 8 is a consideration of an ordinance to close an unnamed alley between Lane Avenue, Pine Street, Alice Street, and Sims Street.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-0.
All right, go on to new business. This is just a report on our debt obligation for the JPD capital outlay note. Calling our recorder, Bobby Arnold.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we have closed on the capital outlay note for the Jackson Police Department vehicles. The note is fully funded. The principal amount was $1,759,152. The final step in the process is to file a report on debt obligation. This is a required report by the comptroller's office. No vote is actually required on this report. It's for your information and the public's information. You have the report for your review. I'll just make 2 quick comments. As I mentioned earlier, the face amount of the capital outlay note is $1,759,152. If you look at section 3, the interest cost, what's reported on here is the net interest cost. This is the rate actually on the capital outlay note with the bank. This is 1.23%. That does not include the 15 basis points, which is the fee that goes to the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund. So the all-in cost is, I believe, 1.38%, and that's less than what the council approved, I think was 1.49.
1.49. That's right.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Move to approve.
We have to vote on that.
I need to vote.
Oh, don't need to vote, okay.
Item 2 is a consideration of a contract for solid waste curbside collection. Call on our group, Susan, Alex, Leilani, and Chris.
It sometimes takes a village to get these proposals and bids together. And good morning. This is part of our committee. Councilman Johnny Dodd, Councilman Paul Pretty, Chris Wood, Leilani Mills, and myself, and Alex Roebling. Edwin Roebling, we're on this committee. We received 4 proposals: Waste Management, Republic, Red River, and Waste Pro. All of the committee members ranked and scored these 4 firms. Thank you, Alex. And from those 4, we shortlisted it to 3, Republic, Waste Management, and Waste Pro. And we all had Zoom meetings with representatives from these 3 companies. And afterwards, we re-ranked them, and Waste Management came up with the highest score. Republic was only 2 points behind them. So it was a very competitive proposal that Waste Management and Republic sent in. And Alex is here to give you some information on what is actually in the contract. And if you have any questions, we're here to answer those.
Okay. All right. I just want to talk a little bit about the changes that people may see. I'll put those there. I talked about it a little bit on this on Thursday. Rolling carts are going to be provided for residential waste at each unit. We're still kind of waiting on the picture and what that's going to look like, but they're in process, and everybody will get one with their residential service. All bulky waste removal, it used to operate as a hybrid model between Waste Management and the city of Jackson. It was, a little unclear. That's actually going to be all taken on by the city now, and that's going to all operate through the city. The roll-off containers that are rented through various services, the current contract, it's exclusive for one person, and that's being changed, and it's going to allow other contractors to rent those. Number 4, carts must be placed in front of the house and on the curb. That's going to be a difference from the backdoor service that's provided to some right now. They're going to be required to move their garbage to the curb for street pickup in their cart that they get. If somebody has a hardship, they can apply for what's known in the contract as disabled service status. That's going to be determined by the city. We're still working on the applications, and we're going to get those out there as soon as possible, because sooner is better than later on that. And those will come in, and those will be evaluated, and if you qualify for that service, then you can still have it picked up from your garage, carport, or front area. But again, you have to be qualified to show the hardship for the disability service status.
Thank you, Alex. And Councilman Dodd and Taylor were part of the committee. Would you like to add anything on the process?
I'd just like to thank the team that worked together, our committee. It was a great opportunity to serve, to see how the process worked. And I think everybody had a good proposal that we looked at, and I think we chose the best proposal that we think will be able to serve our community for the next several years.
Yeah, we were asked to, pick the best proposer off the specifications that were provided by the mayor's office, and I think we've achieved that. As Ms. White had said earlier, it was very close. Republic and Waste Management were very competitive. Ultimately, I know I'd like to go ahead and address, I've got a lot of questions about why we've chosen this provider again. I think it's important to note that, in my opinion, the analogy that I give is if I pay somebody $100 to mow my yard and I go out and mow 80% of it and still give them the $100, then that's on me. So in my opinion, this is on the city to manage this better. I think we've put in the correct specifications to be able to manage that, especially when it comes to bulky waste collection. So, ultimately, we got to do better at managing our contracts. I mean, we've been saying that for 2 years. This is an opportunity for us to start over on this particular point, and I'm hopeful that that we can start to get those ducks in line.
Mayor, if I make a comment.
Yes.
My first question was going to be whether or not, especially the councilmen that were on the committee, but the committee could answer this as well, the level of service to our citizens. And can anyone just speak to that? And I know that there were, as Paul had said, many more specifications that went into selecting the provider. And I'm not really here to question that, but I'm sure citizens want to know, are our services going to change? And if they are, what are those changes in a very just succinct and plain way?
But I would just like to say, looking at all the proposals, as
All
we
right,
said.
Mayor. First question I want to ask.
There's a question asked, so let's answer let's answer his question first.
I
Okay.
think, basically, looking at all the proposals that we had, I think all of them met the needs that we were looking for. And I think Waste Management, yes, they do have a history, they've been here, but the experience, I think, outweigh a lot. And the experience that they bring to the table, I think, brought them to the top. And, like Mr. Taylor said, we have to manage our contracts. If we maintain our contracts that we're supposed to do, I think Waste Management with their experience, and I think they top notch across the country, will do what is expected out of what's in the contract. I think they can deliver what we need delivered.
Councilman, I think the question was related to the RFP of the service provided and the changes. The accountability piece, I think, is what's going to be there. With the current backdoor service, it's up to the individual driver to determine who has a backdoor and who doesn't. That's difficult and unfair for them. And so now the clear expectation of what the service is for curbside, and then the exception for disabled service for backdoor. So the driver, no matter who is on the route that day, will know where to pick the garbage up. And then we're also providing claw trucks, very clear and concise contract. Every party knows their responsibility, and I think that the citizens, while there may be some apprehension, if you all approve this contract today, we will start our aggressive education campaign for the entire citizens of Jackson to understand what the small changes are in the contract, including with the carts being delivered as well.
Because the council members know that at the end of the day, that's what the citizen is going to ask us.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has my service changed? Are they still going to pick up twice a week? Are they going to still come to the back of my house? What do I need to bring to the curb? And I appreciate the marketing campaign and the awareness that we plan to do, but it surely just needs to be clear. What are the changes from before we sign this contract to when we do, you know, for the average citizen? How's that gonna affect how I have to take care of my garbage?
Sure. So currently, a number of the population has back door, front door garbage pickup.
Sure.
And they're gonna be required, unless they qualify for that hardship, to roll the waste to the curb. And the
Okay, so
carts
they're
that
not
they
gonna
provide.
pick up my garbage at the back of my house. I have to roll it to the curb.
Not if you're able to take the,
Right.
yes, sir.
And there are exceptions, so
Yes, sir.
that's surely a difference.
Yes, sir.
That people are gonna wanna know, okay? And what are the other differences?
The bulky waste, as was mentioned, it was the hybrid model. Now it's gonna be
Right.
done solely by the city, but I don't anticipate the citizens seeing a change on that.
Right.
The roll-off containers, I don't think citizens will see a change on that.
No, they're not concerned about that.
Right, it's mainly, as you mentioned, the service at the back door, and if you're able to.
Which is a luxury in the industry, I understand that.
Yes, sir.
We're
Yes,
very
sir.
fortunate to have that.
Yes, sir, and, you know, the national trends, we put a lot of effort into this at the beginning, doing the study on kind of where everything's going, and it's going away from that, because
It is.
it's very hard to attain and keep people happy when you promise them that level of service.
So Mayor, we'll just direct all the angry phone calls to your office, or?
They come anyway.
It's actually Leilani.
Leilani. But I guess my just quick question to you, if you could speak toward our ability to handle that bulky waste, because would that also get into our claw trucks with piles of trash in our neighborhoods?
Well, we currently already cover 80%, the city does.
Okay.
80% of the cost and the actual operations. I mean, the city's functioned on that for years with 8 operating claws, and with the contractor, they only provided 2.
Okay, thank you, so we're in good shape.
Yes, sir.
That was a similar question that I posed on Thursday night as we kind of run through the costs associated with, you know, what the constituent pays. I think this needs to be clarified for the constituents, what they pay on their JEA bill and how that's broken out. In our first year, we have $9.50 for this. This will grow based off of the CPIU index, right? So if we see inflation nationally, we could expect that to inflate. We also have the tipping fees, and we have the bulky waste collection as well, and some smaller miscellaneous costs that are incurred in that. That's the question that I continue to come back to, is, you know, I know we have had a reduction in the cost of this. We've shifted some cost over to the city to take care of the other 20% of our bulky waste collection. Back of napkin, looking at it, it looks like we're gonna be somewhere between $5 and $6 per household to do the bulky waste collection. We're at $9.50. We're charging 17 and some change right now. We've got a little bit of margin, but as that grows, do we anticipate us having to increase rates at some point in the near future during this 5-year contract? Or will we be able to drive efficiency within the bulky waste collection service to keep those rates where they are?
I think our goal is to drive efficiency, because we're also seeing a change in our ability and the enforcement of our ordinance to require landlords to pick up their bulky waste, which has been correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a lot of our service. And so as we do that, and we're actually picking up households or tenant bulky waste, then that becomes less burdensome on our claw truck drivers.
Mr. Chairman?
Mhm.
May I ask a question when you just said that? So what officially for the landlords, they are being made aware that it's their responsibility?
On a daily basis.
Okay, great.
Yes.
That's a
Thank you,
tough
sir.
We are.
Mr. Chairman, is it okay? I have 4 things. May I go ahead?
I think Councilman
Are we
Cisco
finished?
had
Okay.
Yes, one question here. What is gonna be the service charge monthly to the residents for curbside pickup, please? How much are they gonna be charged?
We don't know that yet.
Really?
Yeah, we haven't had any discussions about increasing the rate, going back to what Mr. Taylor said. We're looking at trying to get our number on the back, from the back of the napkin to something more real on what our bulky waste pickup
So we're
costs.
really not prepared to vote today then?
Now, we are prepared. The next year will be 1784, just as it is.
That's correct.
I think the public should be aware and know what they're gonna be doing.
And it'll be 1784 for the next year.
How much?
1784 at the current rate.
That's the current rate.
1784, and we're paying, what, 1027 now?
1103 is what we pay now.
It's going up, and we're not gonna have backyard
No,
pickup?
it's going down.
David,
Back door?
if I could, and this is where, you know, I've been asking for a couple of months now to communicate this, because there was anticipation that these kinds of questions would arise. The number that you're talking about, David, is what we pass through from Waste Management that they charge to provide the service to the constituents. It's part of a bigger charge that's billed to them through JEA.
Sure is bigger.
And so the number the $10 number is actually going down to $9.50 because of that change in service.
Is that plus tax?
I couldn't speak to that.
We're at 8-something plus tax, what we are right now.
No, we're not.
I don't believe so. I think we're somewhere in the $7 and.
It's gonna be more then, and we're not gonna have, backdoor pickup for our elderly people.
No, David, it's going down from 1103 to 950.
Yeah.
And that also, if you remember that we're in a special enterprise fund for solid waste, so we can't use claw trucks in our general fund. Everything has to be funded through the solid waste fund. That's where the 1784 comes, provide the claw trucks, provide the animal pickup, the tipping fees, all that comes in through that fee.
I hear the excuses, but that's not gonna please a lot of our constituents. That's what it's gonna do. It's gonna be a complete difference, and there's some people that's not gonna be able to push them carts out to the curbside because they're 75, 80, and 95 years old, and it's snowing and raining. And, I just don't see it, why we can get away from our public. They're paying the taxes, and we're taking away from them right now. That's what we're
Don't
gonna
lump
be
in all
doing.
those 90-year-old. I know one 90-year-old that pushes hers to the curb right now.
And again, I'll just say, under the
Well, I'm not
contractors,
joking right now.
It's not a joke, but there's also a qualification for backdoor service.
Yeah, I know, but there's no reason for us to take this away. I'd like to make a motion that we not accept any contract without backdoor pickup.
There's a motion being made. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman?
There's a motion on the floor.
I couldn't really understand. I wanted to hear
Oh.
the motion better, please.
The motion is that we do not accept a contract without backdoor pickup.
Okay.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Councilman Walsh, you had a question?
Yes, sir. I have several, if that's okay. One is at some point, I do want to go back to the $10 and the $9.50. At some point, I feel like that the public does need to understand this is a little bit lower. I think those figures need to be broken out where the public can understand them and feel good about what they're getting. And I do know there's some talk about recycling and different things, but I know this starts in August, but I hope by that time that we can release to the public so they will understand what they're paying for. And then I have had a question, is there a way someone can opt off of this? Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
They can, okay? And, also, can you release to the public, and I think it was real good, Mr. Shields is here, and they're here today, but the 4 companies that you all mentioned, if the public could know that, and then I think they already have the scoring. I think that's another thing that I've had questions about. I think that's really good to make sure they understand that. So maybe if, when they do their reporting, they could understand why those 4 companies were selected.
The scoring, the price comparison, and all the proposals are on the website.
Yes. And the last thing, if you all or anyone that was on the committee can just say 2 things that led you, that Waste Management was your choice. And anyone's welcome to answer that. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mine was, I only had one reason, and it was the price, all things being equal. Because with this contract, there are going to be a lot of eyes watching Waste Management, watching that pickups are not missed. There are penalties if there are missed pickups and several other items. So for me, it just came down to price, with all things being equal.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. White.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I will forget, I've been trying to, I keep forgetting. We have representatives from Waste Management here if there's any questions for them as well.
Okay. Yeah, to speak to your question, one, yes, the price. I think both Waste Management and Republic were close in price as it pertained to residential service, but Waste Management had a more competitive price for commercial and industrial services. Also, they know this area. When we were looking at the amount of vehicles that all the companies were going to provide, Waste Management seemed to understand a little bit better on what those services, what those vehicles would take to provide those services to this community. And ultimately, those were the 2 major points that swayed me.
Thank you, Councilman
And
Taylor. Thank
me
you, Mr.
also
Chairman.
is price, and then the experience that Waste Management has. I mean,
Okay.
like you said, you changing, even with what's changing, with everything that's gonna be in the proposal, you gotta make sure, you know, that they're gonna be able to do the job correctly. And I think they already have the experience, they know where the picks up are now, and they'll be able to follow them in line once they get the cars out. You know, they drivers know where they're going. With the new companies coming in, I think you look at them, they're gonna have to learn a whole new process. Got to be put in place for them to even start the back door, the rollout carts coming to the front. So I think with the experience that Waste Management have over the years, I mean, they know our area, like Mr. Paul said, so I think if we'll be able to roll with, once all the changes, we educate our community, I think it'll run a lot smoother.
Thank you all.
And you councilmen are fine with not providing the backdoor service, because that's going to be the key, and that's going to be,
Let me speak to this, because you asked a question, I don't know if it was directly answered to you.
somewhere, somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere, some way, maybe. We were asked to review and weigh in on the proposals that were provided based on the specifications that were laid out by the mayor's office. We weren't a party to the conversations that led to those those requests for proposals.
Is that the flaw in this, what we're doing now?
See, I mean, these are some of the same conversations that we keep having, is about inclusion of the group in some of these collective decisions. I've been trying to talk for the last couple of months about getting a lot of this information out to the public so that we can have these conversations a little bit earlier, so people can become comfortable with the direction that we're moving. None of that was put out until last week. And so now here we are again, having these conversations when a lot of this could have been smoothed over, or things could have been changed as we move through the process. So yes, I think there is a flaw in the process in that regard.
Do you think that the decision would have been different from the committee?
I think, not from the committee, no, based off the specifications that were asked to be reviewed. I do not think that that would have changed anything. I think that there is the potential that those specifications could have been different. But I do not think that the committee would have come to a different realization, because they were asked to keep blinders on and look at, what is in front of them.
And to me, it's backdoor pickup. I think if we realize a lot of people bring their trash to the front already and roll their cars out, because they don't want people in their backyard, so.
Well, I think if we go to the 8 of us sitting up here, don't pick up trash. We don't handle trash, we don't handle solid waste. What we did in my office was handled and talked with the people who handle solid waste and handle trash on what the national trends are and what the best service is. Leilani Pittman Mills, if you think you get angry phone calls, go sit in her office for a day. She handles trash, she handles solid waste. And so that's why we have department heads. That's why we have the mayor's office, to determine what's best for the departments, to what's best working with the city on our contracts. And we ask for committees to review the specifications of the RFP. We don't have death by committee on everything. We deal with the people that deal with the issues, and more than welcome to go sit in her office on a daily basis and deal with the calls and the missed pickups of the confusion of backdoor pickup. That's what we're dealing with. We're trying to clear up opportunities, make it easier on our department heads who work hard every single day, who do this problem and deal with this problem. And that's where we came up with the specifications for the contract by talking with our experts in the field who deal with solid waste pickup.
Mayor, a couple questions I have for the committee. In relating to recycling, I get asked about it quite a bit, especially in District 5, but also outside of, in other members of the community. I know this last year, we made some changes, realized some things we were doing incorrectly, so we've addressed that. And also realize it's a complex issue. Like, when you're figuring, it's not just as simple as citizen recycling. We got to figure out how to dispose of it and how to reuse it, right? With all of that, it looked like in one of the addendas, there was a request from Waste Management asking if we would like to assess that in this. And I feel like the community, when they hear solid waste, they assume that, hey, this is when we address recycling as well. It looks like everything I've seen, we're keeping recycling as is for now, but could the committee or Health and Sanitation speak to what our future plans are for that, specifically with glass and plastic recycling?
Right, so there was such a huge transition and focus on the solid waste contract, so we decided to just kind of leave the recycling like it was until we can actually explore more opportunities. Realizing last year that there was not a market for plastic kind of opened up an opportunity to explore more options for the materials that would be accepted around the surrounding areas. So we just kind of wanted to set aside recycling until we can really focus on that and come up with something that is really an efficient opportunity for the city of Jackson.
Yes, that was the goal and desire, to kind of pause that while we finish the solid waste contract. And there's certainly appetite and enthusiasm around doing some sort of more recycling than what we're currently doing.
So we will, and you can't make promises, but we will explore that, see if there are solutions for plastic
Yes.
and glass in the future. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
And then-
Chairman, may I follow up on that? When we said that $10 was the previous price, $9.50 around that is the price now, could we also maybe look at, for the recycling aspect, could we look at this little bit of revenue that we have right there and see how that might piece into it before we decide if we're lowering the price for the public or raising the price? I know that's a difficult question, but could we just kind of, when we do this process, think about that a little bit instead of going back to the public and raising it if we do recycling, or at least have that number figured in?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
One other question, just in general, as we're, and this is to the committee or waste management representation as well. I know the last couple of years, it's been a unique relationship, right? As we've gone back and forth, arguing over the contract, what services should be provided by who, and how they should be paid for. And I think this plays into kind of what Councilman Taylor or Councilman Brooks, the public's involvement in all of this. Because the question I get quite often is, hey, looking at what we've been through, why would we, as a city, want to do business with the same provider? And I think there's, blame on both sides of the aisle, right? There's, in the past, we as a city didn't hold Waste Management accountable, and maybe Waste Management, was able to benefit from that. But I guess, so one specific question, and then I'd like to hear just comments, but specifically, last time around, there was a map, right, with zones different services. So under this new contract, is there any other discussion, zoning or side agreements that is not in the contract before us today?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess to that, I know we've said we're gonna hold each other accountable. Can we speak to that in a little more detail? Or from Waste Management's perspective of kind of, are there things we're putting in place specifically?
I'll start, and then other people can fill in. I'm sure they will. There's a provision in the contract talking about monthly reporting. We're going to go and get in there and see what that looks like, make it something easy to read, make it something everybody can get so that we can then discuss when we have issues, and also let people know how many issues we have. If we're having a lot, and that way, that'll be our metric for success, is the monthly reporting. If we're shrinking on our misses, if we're growing on our fines. Does that help?
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, just hearing that we're actually.
Yes,
gonna do
yes.
it and, you know,
Yes,
follow
and,
through.
to what you all are saying, I just want to say that it's really been a new day at Health and Sanitation, probably almost the past year. And I think Leilani's done really well. I think everybody agrees with that, but she's going to make sure the contract gets enforced.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I apologize, I didn't say thank you to the committee first, because I know y'all have been working so hard on this. And Leilani, I know what you do, because I've talked to you on that. I'm one of those people that call you. So I did want to say thank you to that. And that's it. Thank you so
And
much.
just so we're clear, I didn't serve on the evaluation committee.
Sure. Mr. Reed, there was one more point I wanted to make. You all also now are going to have a mechanism and a way to be able to track if that garbage was picked up. Isn't that going to be something better? Do you all want to speak on that,
Want to
how
speak
that's
to
going to help you and your office?
Yes, ma'am. Well, on our end, we actually have a work order system, and every complaint is entered into the system, and it's time-stamped. So anytime we send those complaints over to Waste Management, they are able to email with response. And so all of that's time-stamped, just like it would be in the contract, because the contract has actual time frames of penalties. So if we send a complaint by 3 o'clock, they have till 7 o'clock that day to get it. So we're able to go back and look at those reports.
And then on the waste can, is there a way also that they're going to be able to read a code or know that that waste has been picked up?
Yes, I believe
Let them talk.
the RFID.
Yeah, per the proposals, the request was to provide RFID cans. So each can has a little chip in it that's associated with that can and that address. They're making a significant investment in purchasing these side load garbage trucks. And so when the arm reaches out to grab the can, it scans that RFID chip and says that it's dumped, the can at your house. They also have, I believe they have cameras on the vehicles that take pictures as they do the routes as well. So there's 2 layers of documentation for that, But ultimately, it comes down to us managing that process.
Thank you. I thought that was real good, and I do want to say thank you for all your hard work. That's it, Mr. Chairman. for
All
today.
right, thank
Mayor, if I
you.
may, I know we've got Ms. Harville and Ms. Cole, and I wanted representing Waste Management, and I hope we are able to continue, forward, and this is a great relationship, but, not to dwell on the past, but is there anything, I know most of the communication has been with you and the committee, is there anything you guys would like to add, to reassure the citizens that, hey, we're committed to a new day and working to, to make this ultimately better for them?
Well, no, yes, first off, we want to thank the committee for their work on the evaluations. We want to thank the council for your consideration for the vote today to award this contract back to us. We're excited about the steps that we're taking forward. As the committee has mentioned, the national trends are moving to curbside service. Yes, backdoor is a major luxury service in the garbage industry. And it's hard to do. This will be a tremendous help in staffing. This will help us in our efficiencies. This was able to provide us $1 million savings on our side. We were able to move that cost to the city and give you all that savings on the residential side. So it's a win-win for both parties, and we're excited. I just want to assure you that the disability portion of it is something that we do all across the country. Every single contract that I manage has it as a part of it. So once that process is completed, if someone has a hardship, as they say, and cannot physically move their cart to the curb, then arrangements will be made for us to come up to the house, either by a carport, garage, somewhere to collect that can. That will not be an issue, I assure you. We do it everywhere. And, you know, like I said, we are just excited and looking forward to continuing our service here with the community of Jackson. As Mr. Taylor said, we are going to be making a significant investment in getting new trucks for the side load. We will have the chip readers, as they stated. We also have a GPS system on our trucks that over the years leading up to this, we've been able to breadcrumb our trail of where we go. The readers will just help narrow that down to more specific homes, because on the residential side, it really is just a breadcrumb trail. So we can say we were on a street, but specifically, did we miss a house? Did somebody not have their garbage out? Could we not find it somewhere in the backyard? So the chip reader will just add that extra level of layer to the accountability piece. And then the cameras, yes, you know, we use the cameras on the commercial side right now. They'll eventually be coming with the residential trucks, but, you know, what we're able to do on the commercial side is if somebody has an overloaded container, most cities, we charge a fee for that because it's damaging to our trucks and containers. We don't do that here in the city of Jackson, but we are able to take pictures, send them to the Health and Sanitation Office for them to call that customer and say, okay, look, you know, either we need to look at a different level of your service, maybe you need a lock bar if the public is dumping into your container causing this issue. So yeah, so that's a level of accountability that we have on the commercial side. If there's something going into the truck that's not supposed to be in there, paint cans, hazardous waste or whatever, it's filmed as it's going into the truck, and we're able to pinpoint who that is as well. So the technology that our company has is far above anybody else in the industry. You know, everybody kind of chases after us on that aspect. So again, we're just excited to, you know, continue our partnership with the city, and we are here to do our part and to answer any questions that you have. We'll be working with Health and Sanitation on getting the information out to the public, how this is gonna happen, how we're gonna roll out the curbside service, and all of that, and we'll be working with them the next several months to make sure that this is, you know, it's gonna be a transition. It definitely is going from the back door to the curb, but we're here to be in step with you along the way and make sure that everybody knows, and we try to make it the smoothest transition possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of a contract for aviation insurance.
Stacy Stone is
She's on her
here
way
to answer any questions you have about this, but as you will remember, last month we brought to you a contract that we would like to award to Buchanan Insurance Group. And City Council asked us to check on a couple other vendors. And Stacy made a phone call to those vendors, and she received the lowest price from Buchanan Insurance, and it's $24,660. They are in Memphis. That's for 2 helicopters, no hull.
Well, it is hull coverage for those two, and liability coverage for those two. And then we also have coverage for the FLIR, which is a piece of equipment that attaches, and they can move it between those two. We did remove that third coverage. That's
Yes,
the
the
ground-only
third
coverage.
helicopter.
For that third helicopter. And so that dropped the price by $3,100 and $3,195. And so compared to the rate that we paid last year, the annual premium will just see a slight increase, $287.
Any questions? there a motion?
Move
So
to
moved.
approve. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 is in consideration of a contract with Spyglass for primary telecommunication cost recovery. You have the contract and then the cost recovery. And you see that the cost for the contract will be 12 months of savings, and after that, we will realize the savings there. So, any questions on that?
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-0.
Item 5, consideration of board appointments. Keep Jackson Beautiful, reappointment of Georgianne Wright, Mabel Teamer, and Pat Hamlet.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, who was second?
I think Councilman Brooks, second.
He made the motion.
Made the
I
motion.
made the
He made the motion.
Okay, all right. And Councilman Dodd, second.
Dodd, okay, thank you.
Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-0.
Jackson Transit Authority, the reappointment of Mike Freeman.
So moved.
Have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote. All right, item 6, I don't think we have any this month. Consideration of budget amendments less than 10,000. Then item 7 is a consideration of invoices over 10,000.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-0.
No further business coming forward. Council meeting is adjourned.
Oh, well.